Here with Mark, the owner of Sunshine Octopus, about to tell us about his favorite song at the moment and some Grateful Dead stories as well. Do you want to say anything about the store before we get started?
Well, if anybody's down here in Delaware, Rehoboth Beach, we are the epitome of Grateful Dead land. We got lots of shirts, all kind of things. 35th year in business. Psychedelic headquarters for Delmarva area. Come on and stop by. And I'm here with Carson. He wanted to know about my favorite song. Well, of course, it's going to be a Grateful Dead song.
Gotta be.
And I got to say, out of all of them, it's going to be Dark Star, just because that is the epitome of the Grateful Dead vibe. When those guys would strike out into that first chords of that song, you just knew that you were going to have a journey into outer space, and everyone always looked forward to it. Those guys really got into it. You know you were going to have a 20-minute jam that was going to just go all kinds of places with Jerry and everything. And, it really epitomizes the whole Grateful Dead message and vibe about space is the place, and things. I can honestly say I got on the bus in 73 at the Philly Spectrum, March of 73, and after the first show, I kind of knew there was something special. Saw a couple more. Actually made it to Watkins Glen, which is the largest gathering of humans for any concert, 650,000 people. That was the largest concert they have had yet, as far as they have tallied up. But kind of made it a lifelong thing. And then in between tours, some of us artists decided to kind of start a little store and just see if we can make any money while the band wasn't playing with some of our art. And that ended up blossoming into a full-time job here for me 35 years later. And it's just been a amazing, long, strange trip, as they say. And looking forward to the next 35. And I want to thank all of our awesome customers who have helped us along the journey and way here. Couldn't do it without you. And just keep on dancing, people. Have fun.
That's cool. I never really thought about Dark Star being like the epitome of like Grateful Dead, but I guess I've never seen them live, obviously.
Right.
So
Well, in the old days, they were playing it a lot in the old days, just because they could really stretch out, and that coming from all the Trips festivals they used to do with Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters, because everyone would just be so crazy ass, they would just start jamming, and then it evolved into the song called Dark Star, which Robert Hunter lyrics, Jerry and the whole band, contributing. But it truly is the one song that, all the other songs are amazing, but that one is the deepest space journey you're ever going to take. Warp 10 to the other side of the universe. When they would start that, you'd know you were going to have a good ride, man.
That's awesome. And this is going to be like a very broad question, but off the top of your head, are there any memories or stories just about like seeing them in person that you'd want to share?
Well, I got to say I was fortunate enough to meet all of them. Me and Bob, we were born on the same day, October 16th. So in the late 70s, I was up in their hospitality suite. We got to have a good half-hour talk about astrology and different things like that. And I went to Europe in 1990 and was fortunate enough to get backstage in Paris and London, and got to meet Jerry and talk to him a few minutes and hang out.
What year was that?
1990 was the Europe tour. And anyway, it was such small, there was only 125 Americans that made it over beside the band and the crew. So pretty much we all had great tickets, and I had friends that were making shirts for that tour. For Grateful Dead, we got backstage passes, got to hang out and shake Jerry's hand, tell him thanks for making my life a funner place. And yeah, man, I've been fortunate. I got to meet Billy and Mickey also in a bar in California and hang out and chat with them. And actually, I spoke with Phil before, too, so I've been real lucky, man, just because I've seen so many shows. Well, I won't even tell you how many. You wouldn't believe me, probably.
You said like 100 something the other day, or maybe it's more than that.
No, it's actually 620.
Oh, my God.
I started seeing him in 73 and right on up to and beyond when Jerry died. I kind of stopped counting after he died with the Dead Company and all, and the Further and the other ones and all that. But yeah, there was a time when, in the old days, if you were a vendor, you'd make $200-300 a night in the 70s in the parking lot after and before the show selling shirts or stickers. And that was crazy money in those days, and all you needed was $10 for a ticket, tank of gas, and some food and munchies and whatnot, and, $300 a night. I mean, that was the best job ever, so we just started following the band around, and where are they going now? St. Louis. All right, let's go. Where are they going next? Tennessee. All right, let's get in the car and go. And we would just go to all the shows, and it was just amazing. And the more shows you went to, the more you loved them, man, because every show was different, and then you got to start realizing there's different things they do, and then you start to tell when it was a really good show and the band was into it. And sometimes you hear the rumors, the boys are all twinkly tonight, man. They're all doing something tonight, and then you'd have an unbelievable show, and it's just so much fun, man. And like Jerry says, it was like joining the circus, man. You would go on tour, and you would just be out there having so much fun, go town to town with the carnival, with the circus, and like I say, it's the whole reason this store is here. So, thank you, boys.
And speaking of the little extra something that, how did that I don't know if you ever did that at the shows, but how does that compare?
No, I never heard of such a thing either. No, I can honestly say in the old days, man, that was kind of the prerequisite. You wanted to get a little twinkly because the show, was real good. There was lots of times when you wouldn't. You'd say, I'm just going to go in normal and not do anything, not even have a beer or anything, which would also make the show kind of interesting because you'd be on a whole other plane than you'd usually be on. Instead of being out in outer space, you'd be kind of normal, and then you could pick up and see things you'd never seen or notice a few things. But really, as long as you're inside having fun, that's pretty much about it. And enjoying the vibe and loving your brothers and sisters, and that's what it was all about. And it really is one of the most amazing stories of any band ever.
I think so too.
I mean, just their following and their camaraderie and the whole Deadhead thing. It was really ahead of its time. And then, of course, you have the Fish folks with the fish heads and all. But after, the Dead, other bands started getting into that string cheese and things. I mean, definitely different than like a Rolling Stones experience kind of thing. It's just not the same camaraderie. But you just know anybody you meet at a Dead show, and they can be your friend in 1 second. You just got to say hello. And, everyone's on the same beautiful wavelengths, man. So it highly recommended if you haven't seen them. Even now, they're still out there doing Dead Company and still got the good vibe going. And the parking lot and Shakedown Street are still awesome. And go support your fellow humans that are making crafts and lots of things like that. And have a good time, man. Life's too short not to have fun. So go out and have some fun.
Yeah. And what was I about to say? You mentioned a lot of like cover bands. I know you're seeing one later today, right?
Yes, there's a band out of Maryland called Wharf Rats doing the Grateful Dead tribute kind of thing. Very good local band. We see them a few times a year. Lots of other bands out there also. Highly recommended. Dark Star Orchestra, especially. Those guys are pretty much the next in line for the whole thing, and they're amazingly good. But any kind of good Grateful Dead music or cover band you see, you just know you're going to get some of that good energy. And most of the musicians are top-notch, crack musicians, because you got to know music and really how to play that kind of music, man, and things. And, like I say, anytime you get a chance to see one of those bands, definitely go do it, too. It'll get your toes wet if you haven't seen them or can't get to a Dead & Company show. Definitely check out some of it. Or just go to YouTube. There's so much good stuff on there, man. Pick any kind of concert from the 70s and just watch how much fun the band's having and Jerry's having. It's really something.
And is there a cover band, probably Dead & Company, but that kind of like gives like the same kind of like magic that the Dead gave? Like, is there one that's like closest to that feeling, you think?
I can honestly say in '95 when Jerry died, for a few years most of us were like, oh my God, there was such a vacuum vortex of like just what are we going to do? I discovered String Cheese Incident out of Colorado, bluegrass based, very psychedelic band, and between their live shows and their light show, they had it 95% of the same thing. Parking lot vibe and the scene is all the same kind of thing, and that was who took the place for me. And I got to have just about as much fun at those shows as I did any other shows, because those guys are also amazing musicians. They got a lot of bluegrass bass, so they would play bluegrass beside doing all the psychedelic stuff, but also 6 amazing musicians, and also highly recommend the String Cheese Incident. They're out touring around, do a lot of festivals. But the light show with those guys is amazing, which is something, of course, the Dead always had also. The most amazing lights and sound. The best people in the world working on their crew as far as doing sound and lights. And it shows. It really shows.
That's awesome. And you were talking about the camaraderie and stuff, and it is cool because even though they've Jerry's been like long gone, it's like they still got if it weren't for them, like you and I wouldn't be talking right now. And I've met so many people that I'm friends with just because they're Dead. And one time me and my friend were just like on the porch. I think it was Fire on the Mountain we were playing, and just these people walking by under us were like, yo, like I like this song, like can we come up and party with you guys? And I just met like 3 friends that day just because of them. So
yeah, if you pull up at a traffic light next to somebody with a dancing bear or still your face, you look over and wave, you're going to get a friendly response, because the camaraderie is just unbelievable. I mean, if you're on the side of the road with a flat tire and if you got a dancing bear on your back, I guarantee you 4 people will stop and ask to help because they know you're a Deadhead in need. And that's one thing that lasted even after Jerry passed and all, because once you go to a show and have some fun with some people, I mean, you're like, man, everyone is just so amazingly awesome and nice, and you meet a whole bunch of friends, and it's some true camaraderie with no BS. I mean, nobody's judging everybody. There's all sizes, shapes and flavors of people at these shows, and everyone gets along. It's amazing. The world could take a big lesson from the Grateful Dead audience. I'll tell you what.
I think so. Do you have any friends like you still like keep in touch with that you met like from shows and whatnot?
Yeah, I can honestly say some folks. Got some friends in the Boston area. I mean, every time we go to a show, we'll see friends or we'll hook up with some old people. But I'm still in touch with a lot of my friends I've known 30, 40 years seeing shows. And it's once you make that connection, it's kind of a lifelong sort of thing. I mean, obviously not everybody, but at the same time, just a whole bunch of people, you get in touch with, and then you start hanging out, in other places and times. And
no, you're good.
Yeah, you just start hanging out and you get these friendships, and they do last into the real world, because then, people come visit you or you meet up at the show, and it's just real nice, man. It's some true friends, true friendship going on there, and you got this uniting bond with the band. It's just it's so strong. It's unbelievable. Everyone there feels the spirit, of the music, the X Factor, as Jerry used to call it. Yeah. Everyone feels the X Factor, and nobody can quite pin it down on what it is. Even Jerry never knew, but it's just the chemistry, man, the alchemy of the whole situation, and a very unique time in history when these guys started playing out in Haight-Ashbury and all, and pretty much it's a springboard for a lot of stuff that's happening now. All the alt bands and festivals and jam bands and everything, that's happening now, kind of splintered out of the Grateful Dead scene, if you really want to look at it. They were the first to do that, very interesting, amazing phenomena. Joseph Campbell, the famous archaeologist, anthropologist, wrote a whole book about it, and he said, it's amazing. It's very tribal in nature, but really, strong stuff. It stirs up some real good emotions when you're at the show. It's great, man.
Do you know what the book's called? I'm about to check that out.
Joseph Campbell's the gentleman's name, and he's a famous guy. Yeah, he's done PBS shows and all too, but he's got a great book that talks all about it, and I cannot pull the title up right now. But go on Google, you'll find it.
I will. And you're talking about like newer bands and stuff. Are there any like newer artists like you're really into that you'd recommend to just other people?
Well, like I say, I was talking about String Cheese Incident. Those guys have been around since, probably mid-'90s. They're just incredible. Dark Star Orchestra is really carrying the torch also for the Grateful Dead. Amazing musicians in that band. But there's lots of other fun, rock and roll bands and other bands out there, too. North Mississippi All-Stars, Derek Trucks, Susan Tedeschi Trucks Band. Widespread Panic. There's just so many amazing bands out there, and and lots of young bands happening, too, for sure. Don't know as many of them, but any kind of time you go to Firefly, there's just a bunch of amazing bands up there. I don't know or haven't heard a lot of them, but there's just amazing music out there all over the place. It's one of the magic gifts of life, music, and it's the universal language too. That's why they sent the space thing up there with a couple CDs on it with music from our planet, because music is that's it. Music is love is life, as we used to say.
Yeah, I was I think was I telling you about Krungbin, that band, the other day? I think to me that's like the kind of best band out right now that I feel like aside from like cover bands, like jam bands, like would probably I assume would like
check them out.
Yeah,
sure, man, because there is literally every time I turn around, it's like, wow, who are these guys? And it's a brand new band. And it's just so awesome, the wellspring of talent that's going into the music, thing, and it's just fascinating, man. Like I say, all the festivals now and everything, it definitely kind of evolved out of the whole Grateful Dead circus and things. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. Glad to be part of it, and glad I experienced it. And when they invent that time machine, I'm going back to some of those '70s shows, sports fans.
I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I forgot to ask about this. You mentioned you kind of met like Jerry and Bob and like all of them before. Was it kind of just like casual, like, oh, I like your stuff kind of conversations, or did you kind of like have any cool encounters?
I got invited up to a hospitality suite one time because I was with a couple of very beautiful ladies, and we all got to hang out and things. But no, I didn't want to try to be a starstruck fan, but I happened to mention to Bob we were born on the same day, so he was interested in that, and we started talking astrology, and they're all just amazing, down to earth people too. You don't get that, of course, when they're on stage, but Jerry was just nice as anything. Shook my hand and asked if I was having a good time, and did I like the show, and things you wouldn't expect people to do, and you think they're these rock and roll stars, and they're just whatever, so aloof, but just the opposite. They were very awesome, humans and real nice people in general, which is really great when you can keep that.
Yeah, it's cool when like on stage a band seems like they're like from a completely different planet, but then like when they're off stage they're just like a normal person, Yeah,
well, you kind of got to get on that stage planet when you're playing, You got to get into that persona. But I'm some of the nicest folks you'd ever want to meet. Really, and that's that's part of it too, man. It's all nice at the show. It's never hardly any bad vibes, never any fights, never any craziness. Everyone's just having a good time, dancing and enjoying life, man. And that's what you got to do, because one day you won't be here, So you got to enjoy the ride, as Bobby says.
I think the Dead is the best way to do that too. All right, man. Is there anything else you wanted to say before I get going?
I do want to thank Carson and all y'all listening to his show. Keep on listening. This gentleman's very awesome, and he's bringing you some good stories from people like me, I'm sure. So tune in to the Carson Show.
The Carson Show. That's funny. But no, I'm called Playlist with the People. That's the name. But recently I thought like it would be cool, because I thought it'd be like a cool name to do something like Arson with Carson or something like that, because like fire music or something like that. But
groups that set you on fire. Arson by Carson.
I like that.